Hey all, Pixel here, Improbable Garage, and we got to deal with the taillights on this. So just at the beginning of this, I'm doing some of this half-assed, and I know it, and I'll explain it to you, but it's because I just don't have the energy to do it right now. So I built this rear taillight panel back here, and the thing that's going to be half-assed is I discovered after I built it that I'd screwed up. This front edge is stainless, the rest of it is steel. And the steel is basically rusting because the stainless is using it as a sacrificial anode. The right way to fix this would be to either the best right way to fix it would be to completely rebuild it. The second best would be to take it out, sandblast it down so it's bare metal, no rust, like epoxy prime it properly, and then repaint it, sand off this front edge so you can see the stainless, and then clear coat it, so that it's sealed, so there's nothing to rust to then be that sacrificial anode problem. I'm not going to do that right now. The biggest problem is I don't have a way to sandblast this that isn't going to just create a massive mess, and I don't want to deal with that right now. But the bigger problem right now is these taillights. There's two things going on. One, the little resistor that I put in line so that they don't hyperflash has failed. In addition to that, random LEDs out of these have since failed. I could show you, but it's not important. Like, a couple of the brake lights, a couple of the tail lights. These red parts that are supposed to be the running lights have never been usefully bright during the day. It's impossible to tell they're on. And you can see the whole thing has yellowed pretty badly, as well as I replaced the original ones. The original surrounds that these came with were regular steel chromed, and they almost immediately rusted because they were welded to this, and same problem. These are actual stainless, but they're not rusting, but they're picking up the rust from this panel. So I went to go order some more of these, decided I didn't want to because they're just going to fail the same way. Decided these stainless, because these are also in backwards. These surrounds are too wide and big, so they're in backwards, and these lights are janked into them via a bunch of zip ties, if I remember correctly. So this just kind of is a fail. So I found a solution. I think that suits the Cyberpunk look way better. This is actually the other side, I think. There's a left and a right. I think this is the left, but I'm actually going to install it on the right upside down because I like the stop lights being higher up. The lights on this in general are kind of low, so it can't hurt to put them as high as possible. And the nice thing is I did some measuring before I bought these, and it's wide enough that when I take these out, this will either completely cover the two openings or cover it so closely nobody will ever notice. So I can change to a light that honestly works a little bit better to me, deal with the issues of these lights, deal with the issues of these looking all janky. And since I'm going to be in there anyway, I can rewiring stuff, I can fix that resistor. So that's basically it. I gotta get those lights out. I think I welded those surrounds in. So that's going to be fun to get out because I really want to take this panel out because there's a bunch of the wiring in such a way that's going to make that. Oh no, wait, there's connectors. I wasn't stupid. I kept this connectors to the body. So as long as I can unscrew this panel, I can just unclip it from the body and take it out. I may do more on this than I originally planned because that makes my life... I thought I was going to have to rewire everything if I removed it, but I wasn't dumb, so I don't. Anyway, I think I also have to replace I just remembered I think I have to replace one of the lights over the license plate too. I think one of those has failed. So yeah, I'm going to set you up on time lapse, and I'm going to take this apart, see what I'm working with, and then make a better plan. All right, got this off. I keep forgetting if I have to take the bumper off to get this off. Two things. One, this is the wire hooked to the reverse circuit that triggers the reverse on that camera. That camera is hooked to the radio. The radio is complete junk. It will turn on the reverse camera, but only if you're in the menu for the reverse camera. which as soon as it goes out of the reverse camera because you've gone into drive, it puts you back into whatever other menu or in radio or whatever. So it's completely, the radio's junk. But right now the camera's got a light on it, so I'm going to leave it hooked up. But it was just hardwired in because I was lazy that day. So I just added a connector so I could disconnect it and reconnect it. Both LEDs for the plate turn out to be bad. So I'm glad I, bothered to check that. All right, so this is my janky situation. This is the resistor that almost certainly went bad, and you can see my lovely install job. Because like I said, these are in backwards to the way these things are supposed to be installed. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to. So I was smart, apparently, and this is hooked in with. Wow, look at the corrosion on that. This probably is still okay, and that's probably just the problem, is that it's corroded like hell. Yeah, all of this has got corrosion in it. Yeah, but, so what I'm going to need to do is cut these free, wherever I spot welded them. And then, like I said, that other light's going to cover all of this. So, I think what I may end up just doing is making either a bar or a plate or something, and then just capturing that light by bolting it through and tightening it down and just squeezing, because it'll just be this mesh that it's going to be squeezing. So I think that'll work just fine. So, let's get hacking. So I took this off, but I'm looking under here, and I just ran the wire brush over this real quick, and there's just so much rust everywhere. Like, I built this last year, I think, and it's so bad. So the right thing to do is to do what I was saying, sandblast this, make sure I get all the rust out of it, epoxy prime it. But we're already gonna have to cut the wiring to replace those the license plate LEDs, but all of that wiring over there that goes to the other outer lights out there, none of that will I can't take those lights out without cutting all the wiring and redoing it. I really don't want to do that. Of course. Okay, so this is a little smaller than I thought. Of course the wiring is right where the cross bar is. Okay, so left to right, it just covers or just doesn't cover, depending on how you want to look at it. Top to bottom, it doesn't really work perfectly, but it'll work well enough. I don't think anybody will ever notice unless they go digging for it. It is a lot thicker than I had hoped. The only solution for that would be to cut the opening to this size and feed it in from the back, which, if I did that, let's protect this a little bit. Okay, that doesn't work because this support bar would have to get removed, notched something, and that just adds a whole nother level of problem. So I will just, I mean, those already stick up on the other side, so I will just do it this way and it'll look fine. But like, you can see all the rust. I'm gonna have to do this right. God, I don't want to, but God, I'm going to have to. What I'd love to is just bring this somewhere and have it sandblasted. But the last time I stopped by somewhere to ask about that, it was the hitch, the used hitch for the van. And to sandblast the hitch, they wanted more than a new hitch cost. This is about the same size, if not bigger. So the only way I can get the sandblaster is to do it myself. And I have a sandblaster. I have media for it. it'll be a massive mess is the reason I'm being so hesitant. Every time I sandblast, I just make a giant mess in the driveway. And I don't have any, this is so big, there's no good way to just, like I can't sandblast it in a bin or something because like people make quickie sandblast cabinets and I can't do that because this is so long and large. Can probably pull that wiring loose and kind of hang it, wrap the whole thing in duct tape to protect it from the sandblaster. Yeah, let's strip this and do it right. I'm annoyed because I would have had this light back in tonight if I wasn't doing it the right way. I really want to do it the lazy way. All right, it is stripped down and this wiring has been bagged and these have been taped up to protect them. This little bit of wiring might be at risk. I might F it up. I'll risk it because these aren't expensive. But everything is all rusty. Like every joint basically. And like where the plate was all nasty. Just, yeah. So I'm going to go in first before I forget and drill drain holes in the corners of this. And I'm going to drill a hole here and on the other one, as well as possibly a drain hole. I think I can take this screw hole with a small drill and go through, because you can see by the rusting that the inside of this is bare metal and is rusted really badly. And since I can't get in there and sandblast, I'm going to fill the inside of this and the other one with cavity wax just to sort of try and stop, slow, whatever that. I can actually just realize I can get at the other end of it this way too. But I want to try and, because I'm not going to get every bit of rust off, I'm going to have to work as hard as I can in other ways to deal with that kind of stuff. Tomorrow before work I should be able to run out and buy the black epoxy primer. Is my short day. I didn't want to go spend that money because, dear God, I'm hemorrhaging money lately with the van problems and everything. It's been non-stop, like something breaks, redo, something new, blah blah blah. So like, yeah. But if I don't do this, this whole thing's going to just rust away, and then I'm going to have to rebuild it, and that's going to be more time and expense. So we're going to do it right. I don't want to do it right. I want to be lazy, but we're going to do it right. So yeah. Let's set up the sandblaster, turn on some lights outside, and go at it. All right, here we go. I got most of the rust off. I just ended up at a point of diminishing returns where I can't get every tiny last little bit of rust off, because every time I thought I got it all, I'd find another tiny one. So I think at this point what I'm going to do is take this back. I'm going to drill those holes like I talked about, because I forgot to do that. I'm going to take this back outside, blast it with air in every possible direction to get all the sand and stuff off of it, and then use the phosphoric acid, wipe the whole thing down to get rid of this last little bit of surface rust and stuff. And then tomorrow, once I get that paint, we'll paint the whole thing. There's just rust sort of everywhere, like you can see. Not all of this is rust, but most of it is. You can see the sort of haze over this. I've gone over that multiple times, and no matter how many times, there's always just a little bit more rust. And I think I'm at the point now where I'm not gonna actually get it all off. So yeah, it's definitely an improvement. I was very careful about like corners and welds and stuff like that, really blasting it much as I could, different angles into those stuff, to do my best to try and clear it all out. Hopefully this will be enough. Hopefully with treating the little bit of surface rust that's left and properly sealing it with a proper epoxy primer, this will take care of this and get it to lock down and be intact. So this has all been blown off with the air compressor and wiped down. I drilled my drain holes in here. So this is just going to cook for the rest of the evening, though that stuff works pretty quick. So like if you look over here where there was rust, there's now black. That's the phosphoric acid having converted the rust So this should all be nice and solid now. While I was in here, I just hit all the other spots on here that were rusty with the same stuff. So those can also convert, and then I'll probably just shoot them with some spray paint. So I'm done for today because I need that epoxy primer. So tomorrow I should be able to go buy that, and then either on lunch or after work just come out and hose this down from all sides. And then yeah, it came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy. Like, I didn't want to do this job, like I said, but I got it cleaned out and cleaned off pretty good. I think it's gonna, with a nice thick coat of epoxy primer, this is actually gonna look better than it ever did, because it'll hide some more of my crimes a little bit better. Something I never got around to doing, which now I'm kind of glad, is all these edges need to get seam sealed. You know, this kind of stuff, just to kind of hide the spot welds a little bit better. And then that'll look nicer. Oh, you know what? I should probably... I should weld the support across here for that. Yeah, okay. We're gonna do that. I forgot about that. That's the whole, installing that thing was the whole point. So what I'm gonna do, slice 2 slices of this that can fit like that, drill holes in them in the right place, and then just give those a quick tack in, and that'll just take care of that. That'll give me my 2 mount points for that. And that'll be it. Got some paint, gonna put some paint on it. I've got it hanging here. Not the best solution, but it's the best one I've got because it's blowing really hard outside. So I can't really hang it up outside because it's just gonna either blow away or get dust on it or something. I have these 2 little end caps that also need to be painted inside and out because the inside was starting to corrode on both of them. Those are aluminum. So yeah. Oh yeah, I said I was going to show you. These are my mounts. That's literally all I had to do. And then, yeah, other than that, it's pretty much ready. The only thing that's going to be interesting is that I'm not quite sure the best way to handle that wiring, but the important parts are covered already, so we should be good there. It's just going to be awkward. So yeah, let's get to it. Alright, I got my epoxy primer on. It's alright. The surface texture sucks. It's all the orange peel in the world. And unfortunately there was a lot more dust apparently than I thought, despite my attempts to clean it. But the important part is it's sealed. The other part that's a little iffy is where the electronics are bagged there and the points where I had to touch it. But I think I'm going to go back because the front is fine and that's what's going to be visible. I can go back over those and paint them by hand, either with a brush or whatever. But this is presentable. Like this surface up here, once I seam seal it, I'm actually gonna, I've already decided I'm gonna truck bed line it, because it'll hide all the crimes up there. The rest of this is fine, it's good enough. So this is gonna dry for like an hour, maybe, and then I'm gonna come in with some black paint and shoot the whole thing over with that. And I'll call that good because I think that'll have the surface sealed enough. My little bits over there are also painted. This epoxy primer is a black epoxy primer. It's definitely got a bit of a brown tint to it, less so when it's on the surface, but in the container, this is UTEC E350 because it's the cheap stuff that my local paint place recommends. Of the stuff that they sell, that's the stuff where I was like, Durability is my primary concern. Like I'm not, surface finish is not as important to me as durability and sealing the surface against rust, and that's the stuff they recommended. So yeah, this is going to hang out and dry. Hopefully that bag is not going to stick itself too badly, and then I'm going to come back in and shoot it. And then I think it's going to have to stay the very least until this evening, possibly till tomorrow. It's going to have to keep looking to see if I missed. Yep, I completely missed that corner. Okay, well, load up the black paint on there. That's the hardest part of this, is angles and shadows and whatnot make it really hard to know what I did. I did have to change, you saw how I hung it, because from before this whole area was impossible to see, and even after I changed it, it wasn't great, as you can see by the fact I missed that corner. But I think it'll be way better now. Even if this is imperfect, it's a massive improvement over what I did before, which was a single coat. I believe it was a single coat of Rust-Oleum, or two coats. It was like a couple coats of Rust-Oleum. No primer, just Rust-Oleum. And obviously that was grossly insufficient for what it needed to be. So this is a much more thorough job. Sorry about the compressor, but I've gone in and seam sealed all of this. This could be nicer, but after a few attempts, that's the best I'm going to do. I also went in and seam sealed all of the joints because I realized I welded these with regular steel, so that's another risk point for rust to start. So what the hell, the tiny bit of seam sealer might do something positive. This needs some time to cure, and then I'm going to shoot some single stage black on top of it. I'm getting everything set up so that as soon as it's ready, I can just shoot the black, and then I can be done for tonight. God, what a mess. This bolt snapped off, so I just put a rib nut in there. So yeah, I was just replacing a tail light. All right, friend stopped by, we started talking cars, and it's now midnight, but I did get this all painted just now. So that is all got its black on it. There is a lot of dust in it. Don't really care though, because what I wanted was solid black, and that's what I got. The whole back has also got a good coat of paint on it. So this is going to dry overnight. I'm going to leave the garage. All right, paint is on. It's the next day, paint is dry. It was still a little tacky this morning, to be fair. You know, it didn't have that long to dry because I painted it at midnight. But I left it outside in the sun, and I think between that and the air circulation, the garage still smelled of paint when I opened the door, because I painted everything and then I went in the house, so I didn't get any like doors open to get air circulating in here. So I think between not being able to outgas properly because the whole place was already full of gas, and getting to spend some time out in the sun, I think is why it finally was able to harden up. But it came out pretty decent. Like I said when I was painting the other day, it's not perfect and I don't care. I'm not stressing about it. There's nothing about this build that I'm gonna worry like, oh my god, the finish on that has to be perfect. The car's painted with graffiti paint. It's got runs. It just has to look good enough, and it definitely did that. So what I'm going to do now is sand all those faces of the stainless to get the silver back up. Possibly I'm going to have to touch up some of the joints depending on how obvious the black in them are. And then I'm going to test on the back matte clear, because I actually would like I don't want a gloss finish on this. I want it to, I don't want it to look like plastic, but I want it to look more like plastic than paint. So I'm going to try matte clear on the back of it, see what that looks like. And then if that gives me the shine I want without really messing up the color, I'm going to use that. Because the only two-part clear I have is a high gloss clear. I actually bought it from a company that sells paint for lowriders for a project that never happened. So that's definitely not the look I want. So I'm going to try the matte, see what that looks like. I'd love to get this thing done tonight so I can install it either late tonight or tomorrow. All right, so that looks exactly the way I wanted. It's giving me that nice silver edge. It's like there's a little bit of gray where the, you know, it touched the paint but didn't go through it. But when I clear it, that'll all clear up, as it were. I was about to mount these again because what I'm going to do is mount them and then just put some more tape on them because I no longer have to worry about the mesh behind them. Past me was a bro and carved arrows in them in terms of which direction is up so I can install them correctly, because I had a moment of panic on that. I also apparently was smart enough to wrap the very end that's going through the metal with tape just to protect it. So I was doing some stuff right. So I gotta go find the license plate I was using the license plate as a tray to hold all the screws. So I'm gonna reinstall these, put some tape on them. I realized I need to get electronic like battery post cleaner to get the corrosion out of those connectors. I may just give up and buy new connectors. I've been thinking I have a whole thing full of waterproof connectors. I could cut everything off, pin them up, and put them in those. Some of which will work and some of which won't. I can do that for the LED flasher controllers, the little resistors, but I can't do that for the little round light on the side because the 3-wide connector would be too wide to fit through the hole that the light fits through, which would mean I couldn't uninstall and install the light properly. So I'm going to think on that a little more. I might just... This side, that won't be a problem because I can always feed the light through, put the grommet over the light and into the hole, and then pull the light back through into the grommet. That won't be a problem. The one on the other side fits into a thing on the bumper exactly. So I got no wiggle room there, so that's going to have to... That basically would be a case of I can install this connector, but then that exists in that hole forever. But now that I think about it, I don't have any reason to take it out. So maybe I will do that. I don't know. Figure it out later. So I just had a thought. This is the little resistor, and it was mounted to the back post of one of these. Yeah, it was like there and basically completely hidden. And I was like, you know what, just in case, because I'm doing a better job this time, let me paint the backside black so it won't be visible. And I was looking at it again and going, why am I hiding this thing? Like, this is I mean, this one's kind of shit because I ground a screw into it. But overall, like, this is an interesting little shape. And, you know, going for all that whole cyberpunk thing. And I was just thinking, like, you know what? It even lines up with the little literal holes in the mesh. But just mount it like that, run the 2 wires back through the mesh, and that becomes an interesting little detail. I may do it down here, I'm thinking, actually. Because I think I'm going to like the subtlety in this car. Yeah, sure, that's totally happening. But I think I might like the relative subtlety of it having it down here. And if I don't like it, I can change it. Because, like, it's not, you know, I'm not making a heavy-duty permanent change, but I think I might do that. I was trying to put it in the corner here, but unfortunately the wire sticks out too much. And, like, I can't... Maybe? Actually. No. I was about to say I could put it in between, but there's not, A, not enough room, and B, it would... Either these would have to be spaced up, or I'd have to cut the ears off, at which point I don't really have any attachment points. But, could also maybe attach it. I'm just realizing I can maybe do this and attach it to this. Anyway, I'm going to figure out some way that this thing can be out here visible. Could even do that, I guess. And then run the wires up and down a little bit before I push them through. Anyway, but yeah, I think I'm going to do something where this is visible, because why am I not? Why am I not taking advantage of this interesting little shape to add to the cyberpunk look of this thing? There's my clear. I'm not quite sure how it's showing up through the camera, but it's slightly grayed, the black. but I don't think I care. I think that's actually good. I think that's going to get me that sort of more plasticky looking thing that I want. So I think I'm going to do that. And then this upper panel is going to get sprayed with Trek bed liner, just because this is exposed when you're loading and unloading things. So I might as well put something on there that's going to keep it from looking nasty. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to flat clear the whole thing, and that'll let me do the final assembly work. This is now all clear coated and still drying in some spots. That top piece has got truck bed liner on it. Those little end caps have got truck bed liner on it. So all this is going to sit for a couple of hours, let it all dry, and then I can do reassembly. And that's reassembly is going to involve a lot of either just cleaning connectors or replacing a bunch of connectors, and either way I have to replace a bunch of connectors on the driver's side here. Like I think I said when I was taking it apart, these lights had to stay connected because I'd have to cut so many wires to take them out. I pondered opening up that area so I could fit connectors through, but I realized I'd have to cut almost everything out between where the two pins are. And it was just like, you know what, I'll just leave it, I'll just deal with it, because as you saw, I can unplug all of that from the body, so this thing will be able to come off just fine. And those have been working fine, so they're not currently an issue. The one on this side, I am going to make a WeatherPack type cut, and I'm going to put a waterproof connector on the end of it and on the wiring harness, because I've cut that wiring harness, the little plug ends that came off the old lights, multiple times, and I'm realizing I gotta have a drop dead point. So now if I put a connector on it, I can modify after that connector repeatedly by just either repinning another connector or rebuilding another connector from the other side as many times as I need to. And any like adding wires, splitting wires can all happen on that side without ever having to touch that original plug, and therefore saving me from ever having to worry about that wiring. So that's what I'm going to do there. I could technically do that now. I'm not going to do it yet, because I'm afraid that if I do it completely off the car, I'll do something dumb like make a wire too short. And I don't want to risk that. It's just safer to have the reference point there when I'm doing it. So I'll see you in a couple of hours. Stuff is dried. It is reassembled. I added some color to this. I don't know if anybody even remembers, but that was all black except for the fake carbon fiber. So I added some green, made those stainless steel. And then I don't even know if it's going to show up on the camera, but these areas in here are now purple with a silver metallic sprayed over top, misted over top of it. It's basically invisible now that it's on there, but I just decided, you know what, that could use some color. I may come back in later and touch up, like fill these with black, paint those like hardware, but I didn't feel like dealing with that right now. This was very quick, just mask it off, spray it, remask it, spray it. Yeah, but this is installed. I'm probably going to regret that because I know some piece of wiring is going to suck to get at. But let's see what the taillight looks like actually on the vehicle. Oh yeah, that totally works. Another funky, weird, strange taillight. It doesn't quite, like, if I had started with this edge would have followed it, so that's not quite like the most optimal thing, but I like that. It's a cool looking, strange looking taillight, which is what I wanted. The bumper is not quite on properly, but it's close enough to see. Yeah, and it's good. I love this section here with its sort of like two planes. It just kind of like, it to me hits those like 80s graphic things where you'll see the like fake CGI like wireframe horizon thing. So yeah, we gotta get the wiring going on that. It's gonna take me forever, but then it'll look pretty, but then we'll be all done. It took forever and I'm still not done. I always forget how long wiring takes. It's like almost 11 o'clock at night, but the running light's wired up, the turn signal's wired up, the backup light is wired up, the brake lights I believe are wired up. As soon as I finish talking to you, I'm gonna stand this up, hit the brakes, and look at the video to double check. The little side running light is hooked over there with both running and turn. That's now on this triple connector. This is on this 5 connector. And this is going to be for the resistor for the turn signals. For some reason, the emergency flashers run at a normal speed, but the turn signals run super fast. I don't understand. Over here, these are back attached. This I haven't changed. I added the waterproof connector for this camera, but now for some reason when I plug it in, it flashes briefly and then doesn't stay on. I changed the head unit out for an Alpine one I got at the junkyard. It's like a $400 head unit for 75 bucks, just because it was missing. Because one, it's used, but it also was missing the remote, and it didn't have a camera. But apparently, it doesn't like this generic shitty camera from the previous radio. So that's another separate project. I need to, like I did on the other side, change all of these to proper weatherproof connectors for the bullet light on this side and for the resistor, and then that will fix that. This is the wiring for the 2 lights that were up here that were very, very dead. They did not like being outside at all. Right now I don't have an easy solution for that. I have these little, like, replace the screw ones that I got for the van and ended up not using, but they're a different thread than what I ended up using for my screws on here. So even if I thought these were a good idea, which I don't, I can't really use them. I started taking one of them apart to harvest the LED out of it, and then realized that's probably not the smartest long-term solution. So I have another bin somewhere. Shoot. Oh, it's over there. Yeah, it is over there. It's got a bunch of electrical stuff I've bought for this lights and stuff, so I might have something in there that will work. If not, I'll have to order something or stop by some of the local auto parts store and see if I can find something. Because what I need is something that sticks on, preferably like up here, and shines down. Because I don't want to drill a hole now that I've sealed the whole thing up. But if I had to right now, I could drive it and it would be functional. It just wouldn't be optimal because the turn signals are run fast and there wouldn't be lights over the license plate. But I'm making some massive progress here, and I'm doing a good job for once. I'm not doing a half-assed quick job. I mean, the previous ones weren't terrible, but I didn't think through things like, hey, maybe you don't use open bullet connectors that aren't waterproof, where water is going to get kicked up on everything and stuff like that. So I'm trying to be a little bit more thorough in thinking that through. And I'm also putting connectors on everything, because like right now the bumper is hooked to this light because I ran all the wiring for the light through and down and didn't think that through. And yeah, I could unbolt the light, but you know, if I just put a connector here, that wouldn't have been an issue. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut all this wiring, and I'm going to put a three connector thing in there, and then when I want to take the bumper off, I just unplug that. This is important because I've got a bunch of plans for additional lighting that I'm adding all over the place. So since the bumper, well, the bumper I don't have a specific plan for, but I do have plans for back here. I need to remember to do that. But anyway, I'm going to bed. I was up till midnight last night painting that stupid thing, and now it's 11 and I'm wiring it. But I mean, it's coming along. It looks good. All right, it's the next day. I actually just came out here, jumped in, and did wiring because it's going to be more of the same. So I believe at this point everything is wired. Over on this side, I finished. The last thing I had on this side was the resistor to make the blinkers go at the right speed, which I decided to mount out here. I kind of like that. I especially like the way the red wire kind of arcs around and goes in. Everything that has to be disconnected is on a proper waterproof connector, and this is. I have no idea really why I put this on a connector, because you have to cut the wires to get it out of here. I think because the one stopped working on this side, I think at the moment when I did that I was paranoid about what if it wasn't the corrosion in the connector? What if that thing actually failed? And this way I don't have to cut the wiring harness to replace the thing. I just have to, you know, redo this. I can unpin this connector, run a new one in and repin it. So that's all set. That all works as far as I know. I've done some testing. I haven't tested the brake lights because I haven't had a second person out here to hit the brakes. Oh wow, I just scratched it. Oh no, that's not. Talk about that in a second. Over on this side, it's actually all been put away already, but these two lights, the reverse lights, and the new couple of surface mount LEDs for the license plate light are all hardwired into the connector. Yeah, actually you can see there, that connector. My theory on that is these are trapped. You have to cut the wires up to get them out, and these are stuck on. So that's always going to move with this unit. So all it has to do is be able to disconnect from the car. This connector is for the light on the bumper, so that I can now take the bumper off and away from the car, because that's why the bumper was sitting here, this was stuck on. And then there's a connector buried in here, which is this one for the side light. And then same thing idea with the resistor over here that goes in and then comes in and connects, and the same thing here. Didn't necessarily have to go through a connector, but if these things are failing on me, this is an easier thing for me to fix without having to deal with it. I'm a little paranoid. The reason I'm kind of doing this is this connector over here, this side, the lights side of it, not the car side, the light side of it, when I cut it off of the stock tail light, I actually cut it like about here, and then it had to get cut again and rewired because, I don't know, I think I used the wrong connectors or whatever, and I ended up with these little stubs of wires that I had to put connectors on and extend. And I realized anything where I'm going to have to cut the harness up to replace it potentially screws me more and more, you know, as it just get closer to like that one. I added more wire, but you know, it gets a little paranoid. The only reason I didn't do that with these lights is, like I said, they're all kind of captured anyway. And these up here have very, very thin wires. So they're all brought together, like all four grounds for this, and this are all brought together and go to one ground wire. And then both of these go to one wire, and then both of these go to one wire. So there's no, it wouldn't go well into a connector. I don't think I could clip that in. I'd have to like hook them to a connector and then hook that wire to, I'd have to go through like a solder connector and then have that wire that they go to be pinned in. And there's a point where it's just diminishing returns. There's two of those stick-on these thingies back here to capture the main harness and hold it on the back of this. The two little converter boxes for these are stuck onto the back of this with some 3M tape. So all of this is pretty neat. Like this might be visible once the bumper's back on, and if it is, I'll just put a zip tie on and get it up out of the way. I'm not too worried about it. This just needs its 2 screws to go on, and then or 3 screws rather, and then it can get clipped in. Yeah. Oh, this. I soldered a connector together for all those 4 grounds, and then in the like fraction of a second between taking the torch off of it and it cooling enough to lock everything in place, one of those 4 ground wires just popped out. I don't even know how. It must have had some weird tension on it or something, but it fired itself out. So I had to get the connector apart real quick before it all fused, because those have, sorry, I'm trying to find, I think that might be half of it or something. Oh no, here's half of it. The center of those is solder, so it would have connected all those wires together, which would have made getting another connector on impossible. So like yank the 2 halves of it apart real quick, and it splattered solder everywhere. I actually got, I think it all fell off at this point, but I had a bunch of solder on my hand, but it was such tiny drops it didn't even actually hurt. But looking at it, there's a couple little drops of it here, and then there was one that's, this up here is a splash of it up here. Once I got it apart, I was able to just like, once they were 2 halves were separate, I basically peeled them off, and then I was left with 2 wires with a bit of solder on them. But that, I could take that other wire, bring it back to the other 3, put that into a new connector, and you know, redo it, and then it was fine. Yeah. So there's another piece of it right there, right? I didn't notice it because it's on the silver. That may have to stay. That seems to have done a much yeah, that's soaked into, that hit hard enough with enough heat that it's actually embedded in the paint, the clear coat. So that's going to stay. Yeah, so this is all done now. And I've refixed all of this. I put the new taillight in. I've redone the wiring in a way that's, now I have no connectors here that aren't weatherproof. And like these have little rubber gaiters that go on each wire that are all pushed in. And the connector itself has a rubber gaiter as well. So this should all be pretty darn waterproof at this point. So I'm happy with that. And so I'm gonna have to run through the gamut of testing everything. I think I trust this all enough that I'm just literally gonna put the bumper on and then test it. And assuming there's no surprises, assuming I didn't screw something up somehow, this should be all done and I can check this project off. So let's do that now. And there we go. Everything's working exactly as it should. That all, you know, I got rid of all the rust. That looks way better. That looks really cool. I also love that I finally integrated the resistors in a way that looks interesting. Now there's one on either side. You know, got to use that shape instead of hiding it. The license plate frame's a little more interesting. I think that overall worked really well. And then we open this. This is slightly cleaner in here. Like you can still see all the welds and stuff, even with the seam sealer. This is a little less obvious. There's also no longer an edge there to potentially get caught on. That's also been truck bed lined, so it'll stand up to a little bit more abuse. This whole thing with the epoxy primer and everything should stand up better to the weather. So yeah, I'm happy with that. It's a pain that ended up being a 3-day project to be what originally was going to just be replace a light, but I think everything that I did either improved the look or the functionality or both. So excellent. Oh, and a thing that I did, I'm mostly putting this for my own memory. The back of that light, I put labels on it. I don't remember if they were ever visible. That says like number 1 black, like ground, you know, whatever the wires were that were coming off the back of it. I don't even remember now. And number 1 corresponded to those weather pack connectors they were doing. They're impossible for you, would have been impossible for you to see, but they have a 1, 2, 3, you know, however many they are, count across one end and the other to help make it easier to put the right wire in. So there was 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 for all of the different wiring there, so that I could wire the connector in and then wire it to the car correctly. And then as much as possible, wherever I put another connector in, I followed that same pattern. So like when I wired the side light over there, number 1 was also ground on that, and number 2 was also whatever it was on the other light. Number 3, because I'd put turn, run, and stop as the first ones for that reason. Or not stop, turn, run, and ground. That's the other one. And then when I wired the one on this side, it follows the same convention as that side. So theoretically, I can swap the side light for the left and the right, and they'll just plug in and work. So there's as much electrical consistency as I can, because again, I'm trying to just make this stuff make more sense, because I have a bad habit of, yeah, this is fine. Later me, that wasn't fine. So cool, all done. I've come up with a really interesting idea for the middle of that, but that's going to be on another episode because I've got to get some supplies for it. So this will do me for now, because this is back to drivable, other than I have to put the 2 screws in that thing. So that's it for now. I'll talk to you all later. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.